Good evening, Carl. Well, now we come to the last of the tales of Mowgli and Bagheera and Baloo and the jungle. The last of the tales in the Jungle Books, in fact. I hope you've enjoyed this trip. This last one was called The Spring Running. Man goes to man, cry challenge through the jungle. He that was our brother goes away. Hear now and judge, O you people of the jungle. Answer, who shall turn him, who shall stay? Man goes to man, he is weeping in the jungle. He that was our brother sorrows sore. Man goes to man, oh we loved him in the jungle, to the man trail where we may not follow more. The second year after the great fight with Red Dog and the death of Akela, Mowgli must have been nearly 17 years old. He looked older, for hard exercise, the best of good eating, and bathes whenever he felt in the least hot or dusty had given him strength and growth far beyond his age. He could swing by one hand from top branch for half an hour at a time when he had occasion to look along the tree roads. He could stop a buck in mid-gallop and throw him sideways by the head. He could even jerk over the big blue wild boars that lived in the marshes to the north. The jungle people used to fear him for his wits, now feared him more for his strength. And when he moved quietly on his own affairs, the mere whisper of his coming cleared the wood paths. And yet the look in his eyes was always gentle. Even when he fought, his eyes never blazed as Bagheera's did. They only grew more and more interested and excited, and that's one of the things Bagheera himself did not understand. He asked Mowgli about it, and the boy laughed and said, "When I miss the kill I am angry. When I go empty for 2 days I am very angry. Do my eyes not talk then?" "The mouth is hungry," said Bagheera, "but the eyes say nothing. Hunting, eating, or swimming, it is all one, like stone in wet or dry weather." Mowgli looked at him lazily from under his long eyelashes, and, as usual, the panther's head dropped. Bagheera knew his master. They were lying far up the side of a hill overlooking the Waingunga, and in the morning mists hung below them in bands of white and green. As the sun rose it changed at a bubbling seas of red gold, churned off and let the low rays stripe the dry grass on which Mowgli and Bagheera were resting. It was the end of the cold weather. The leaves in the trees looked worn and faded, and there was a dry tickling rustle everywhere when the wind blew. A little leaf tapped furiously against a twig, as a single leaf caught in a current will. It roused Bagheera, for he snuffed the morning air with a deep, hollow cough. He threw himself on his back and struck with his forepaws at the nodding leaf above. "The year turns," he said. "The jungle goes forward. The time of new talk is near. That leaf knows. It is very good." "The grass is dry," Mowgli answered, pulling up a tuft. "Even Eye of the Spring, that is a little trumpet-shaped waxy red flower that runs in and out among the grasses, even if Eye of the Spring is shut, and Bagheera, it is well for the Black Panther so to lie on his back and beat his paws in the air, though he were the tree cat." "Oh," said Bagheera. You seem to be thinking of other things. "I said, is it well for the Black Panther to so mouth and cough and howl and roar? Remember, we be the masters of the jungle, thou and I." "Indeed, yes, I hear, man cub." Bagheera rolled over and hurriedly and sat up, the dust on his ragged black flanks. He was just casting his winter coat. "We be surely the masters of the jungle. Who is so strong as Mowgli? Who is so wise?" There was a curious drawl in the voice that made Mowgli turn to see whether by any chance the Black Panther was making fun of him, for the jungle is full of words that sound one thing but mean another. "I say we be beyond question the masters of the jungle," Bagheera repeated. "Have I done wrong? Did I not know the man cub no longer lay upon the ground? Does he fly then?" Mowgli sat with his elbows on his knees, looking out across the valley at daylight. Somewhere down in the woods below a bird was trying over in a husky, reedy voice the first few notes of a spring note. It was no more than a shadow of the liquid, tumbling coal he would be pouring later, but Bagheera heard it. "I say the time of new talk is near," growled the panther, switching his tail. "I hear," Mowgli answered. "Bagheera, why dost thou shake all over? The sun is warm." "That is Pharaoh, the scarlet woodpecker," said Bagheera. "He has not forgotten. Now I too must remember my song," and he began purring and cooing to himself, harking back to satisfied again and again. "There is no game afoot," said Mowgli. "Little brother, are both thine ears stopped? That is no killing word, but the song that I make ready against the need." "I had forgotten. I shall know when the time of new talk is here, because thou and all the others run away and leave me alone." Mowgli spoke rather savagely. "But indeed, little brother," Bagheera banged, "we do not always—" "I say ye do," said Mowgli, shooting out his forefinger angrily. "Ye do run away, and I, who am master of the jungle, must needs walk alone. How was it last season, when I would gather all sugar cane from the fields of a man pack? I sent a runner, sent thee to Hathi, bidding him to come on such a night and pluck the sweet grass from me with his trunk." He came only 2 nights later, said Bagheera, cowering little, and of that long sweet grass that pleased thee, so he gathered more than any man could keep in all the nights of the rains. That is no fault of mine. He did not come upon the night when I sent him north. No, he was trumpeting and running and roaring through the valleys in the moonlight. His trail was like the trail of 3 elephants, for he would not hide among trees. He danced in the moonlight before the house of the Man Pack. I saw him, and yet he would not come to me, and I am master of the jungle. It was a time of new talk, said the panther, always very humble. Perhaps, little brother, thou didst call him by a master word. Listen to Pharaoh and be glad. Mowgli's bad temper seemed to have boiled itself away. He lay back with his head on his arms, his eyes shut. I do not know, nor do I care, he said sleepily. Let us sleep, Bagheera. My stomach is heavy in me. Make me a rest for my head. The panther lay down again with a sigh, because he could hear Pharaoh practicing and pre-practicing a song against the springtime of new talk, as they say. In an Indian jungle, our seasons slide into one another almost without division. There seem to be only two, the wet and the dry. But if you look closely below the torrents of rain and the clouds of char and dust, you will find all four going round in their regular ring. Spring is the most wonderful, because she has not to cover clean, bare field with new leaves and flowers, but to drive before and put away the hangings-on, over-surviving raffle of half-green things which a gentle winter has suffered to live, and to make the partly dressed, stale earth feel new and young once more. And she does this so well that there is no spring in the world like the jungle spring. There is one day when all things are tired, and the very smells as they drift on the heavy air are old and used. One cannot explain this, but it feels so. Then there is another day, to the eye nothing whatever has changed, when all the smells are new and delightful, and the whiskers of the jungle people quiver to their roots, and the winter hair comes away from their sides in long draggled locks. Then, perhaps, a little rain falls, and all the trees and bushes and bamboos and the mosses and the juicy leaf plants wake with a noise of growing that you can almost hear, and under this noise runs day and night a deep hum. That is the song of the spring, a vibrating boom which is neither bees, nor falling water, nor the wind in the treetop, but the purring of the warm, happy world. Up to this year, Mowgli had always delighted in the turn of the seasons. It was he who generally saw the first eye of the spring deep down among the grasses, and the first bank of the spring clouds, which are like nothing else in the jungle. His voice could be heard in all sorts of wet, star-lighted, blossoming places, heaping the big frogs through their choruses, or mocking the little upside-down owls that hoot through the white nights. Like all his people, spring was the season he chose for his flittings, moving for the mere joy of rushing through the warm air, 30, 40, or 50 miles between twilight and the morning star, and coming back panting and laughing and wreathed in strange flowers. The four did not follow him on these wild ringings of the jungle, but went off to sing songs with other wolves. The jungle people are very busy in the spring, and Mowgli could hear them grunting and screaming and whistling according to their kind. Their voices are different from their voices at other times of the year, and that is one of the reasons why the spring in the jungle is called the time of new talk. But that spring, as he told Bagheera, his stomach was changed in him. Ever since the bamboo shoots turned spotty brown, he'd been looking forward to the morning when the smells should change. But when the morning came, and More the peacock, blazing in bronze and blue and gold, cried it aloud all along the misty woods, and Mowgli opened his mouth to send on the cry, the words choked between his teeth, and a feeling came over him that began in his toes and in his hair, a feeling of pure unhappiness, so that he looked at himself over to be sure he had not trodden a thorn. More cried the new smells, the other birds took it over, and from the rocks by the Waingunga he heard Bagheera's hoarse scream, something between the scream of an eagle and the neighing of a horse. There was a yelling and a scattering of the bandar log in the new budding branches above, and there stood Mowgli, his chest filled down some more, sinking little gasps as the breath was driven out by his unhappiness. He stared all round him, but he could no more than the mocking bandar log scudding through the tears, and More, his tail spread in full splendor, dancing on the slopes below. The smells have changed, screamed More. Good hunting, little brother, where's thy answer? Little brother, good hunting, whistled Chill the kite and his mate, swooping down together, the two baffled under Mowgli's nose so close that a pinch of downy white feathers brushed away. A light spring rain, elephant rain they call it, drove across the jungle in a belt half a mile wide, left the new leaves wet and nodding behind, and died out in a double rainbow of a light roll of thunder. The spring hum broke out for a minute and was silent, but all the jungle folk seemed to be giving tongue at once. All except Mowgli. I have eaten good food, he said to himself. I have drunk good water. Nor does my throat burn and grow small as it did when I bit the blue spotted root of that ooh the turtle said was clean food. But my stomach is heavy, and I've given very bad talk to Bagheera and others, people of the jungle, and my people. Now too I'm hot, and now I'm cold. I'm neither nor hot nor cold, but angry with that I cannot see. It's time to make a running. Today night I will cross the ranges, yes, I'll make a spring running to the marshes of the north and back again. I've hunted too easily too long. The four shall come with me, for they grow as fat as white grubs. And he called, but never one of the four answered. They were far beyond earshot, singing over the spring songs, the moon and the sambur songs, which the wolves of the pack. For in the springtime the jungle people make very little difference between the day and the night. He gave the sharp barking note, but his only answer was the mocking meow of the little spotted tree cats winding in and out among the branches for early birds' nests. At this he shook all over with rage and half drew his knife. Then he became very haughty, though there was no one to see him, and stalked severely down a hillside, chin up and eyebrows drawn. But never a single one of his people asked him a question, for they were all too busy with their own affairs. Yes, said Mowgli to himself, though in his heart he knew that he had no reason. Let the red doe come from the Deccan, or the red flower dance among the bamboos, and all the jungle ones whining to Mowgli, calling him great elfin names. But now, because of Eye of the Spring is red, and more forsooth must show his naked legs in some spring dance, the jungle goes and does tabaki. By the bull before me, am I the master of the jungle, or am I not? Be silent. What do ye here? A couple of young wolves of the pack were cantering down a path, looking for open ground in which to fight. You will remember that the law of the jungle forbids fighting where the pack can see. Their neck bristles were stiff as wire, and they bayed furiously, crouching for the first grapple. Mowgli leaped forward, caught one outstretched throat in either hand, expecting to fling the creatures backwards as he often done in games of pack hunts. But he never before interfered with a spring fight. The two leaped forward and dashed him aside, and without a word to waste, rolled over and close locked. Mowgli was on his feet almost before he fell. His knife and his white teeth were bared, and at that minute he would have killed both for no reason but that they were fighting when he wished them to be quiet, though every wolf has full right under the law to fight. He danced round them with lowered shoulders and quivering hand, ever ready to send a double blow with the first flurry of the scuffle should be over. But while he waited, the strength seemed to ebb from his body, and the knife point lowered, and he sheathed the knife and watched. So, something is wrong with Mowgli, or more to the point, Carl, something has changed in Mowgli. What has changed? Well, join me tomorrow to find out. Love you to pieces.